In the 1980s, I began teaching, and in those days, I was actually teaching the Humanist Manifestos 1 and 2 to my students in a Christian high school. And it was there that I had my students think about some of the basic understandings of what the Humanist Manifestos were getting across. For instance, they began by suggesting that all humans have worth, value, and dignity. Well, the very first question my students would ask would be, well, where did they get that from? And then the next thing that we would find from the Humanist Manifestos was that there was authority that came from human beings. And looking at the old Soviet Union and communist China, my students continued to ask yet another question, and that was, well, where does that authority emanate from? Where is its origin or its source? If it's only from humans, then we can continue to throw people into the gulags as the Soviets did, or into concentration camps as the Chinese did and do. So where do those things come from? I would like to suggest to you in this quick teaching burst today that all of life rests on the questions that my students were asking in the 1980s, and quite frankly, all of life is about this. I'm suggesting here that there are two pillars that uphold all of life. The first pillar is that of absolute authority, the question of who says, where does this authority come from? Who are you to tell me? And then the second question has to do with our human nature. If you believe people are perfectible, getting better and better, then you're going to have one view of human life. You're going to see every problem as coming from outside of you in. But if you actually believe in the inherent corruption of the human person, that is, we bear responsibility because of our own sinfulness, then that is going to be where you begin, and you'll recognize that the problem begins in here and then goes out there. I would like to suggest then that all of life rests on this. All ideas have to deal with these two issues. What is our human nature, and where does authority come from? All belief systems begin with these two basic ideas. Whatever you see in terms of people's belief, they will come back to these two basic ideas. And the other thing that I would like to suggest here, being a college prof, is that I see all studies being established on these two ideas. Every single thing I've studied and every single thing I'm teaching in undergrad and graduate school has to do with what do we believe about human nature, and what do we believe about absolute authority. That's what I wanted to make sure to get across here today. And as you go back to the PDF and you begin to look at scriptural passages, understand that these kinds of ideas have been with us since Genesis chapter 3.